Hi, today's training is about Microsoft Office Importer for MicroStation. We'll cover topics of interest to brand new users and also to experienced users. To get started with Microsoft Office Importer, you need to go into Excel or Word and copy something that you want to bring into MicroStation. So I'll go into Excel here. And you just select what you want. That could be any cells out of the middle of a spreadsheet, entire rows, entire columns, the whole spreadsheet, and that's what I'm going to do here. And you just copy it to your clipboard. This is a normal copy. There's nothing running inside of Excel here. Everything's fine. Everything's normal. And the Microsoft Office Importer supports basically any version of Excel from all the way back to Excel 97 up through Excel 2016. That's the present version today. So you just copy what you want to your clipboard, and then you jump over to MicroStation. And if you have Axiom's tools installed, you'll have an Axiom menu inside of MicroStation, and most likely Microsoft Office Importer is already starting automatically when you open up MicroStation. And here's this toolbar that shows up when it's loaded. You just come in here and hit the paste button to get that paste started. What I'm going to do briefly, though, is check my settings, see if I have them the way that I want them for this. So I'm going to go over these settings in more detail after I create a paste, but for now I'm just going to check them for myself. Good, I'm happy with those. Happy with that. Happy with that. Those are fine. Those are fine. Good. Those settings look good, so I would just hit paste. And what's actually going to happen is the information that I copied from Excel is going to come in here, and we're going to draw it in MicroStation with real clean MicroStation elements, real lines and text. And it's going to honor the formatting that's coming in from Excel. It's really good. Show that here. So this is like a 300-row concrete summary I'm bringing in, and to show it to you again, I'll just hop back to it. It's here, and it goes and goes and goes. And this is how big it is at the text size that I need it to come in at. So that's too big to fit inside this border, but it's actually something that can fit in here very nicely. So all I need to do to fit this wherever I want it is click in the top left corner and then move down into the right, and this will spread it out however I want it. So in this case, let's say, let me go check one more setting. I think I've got, yep, got to set wider than I want. So, and so I'm going to bring this in again, but not as wide this time. I didn't have it set the way I actually wanted it. I missed one thing. So here we are, and you come in here, you choose your top left corner, and you move down into the right, and now I've got it how I like it. And you're in control of that. You can, go shorter, and you'll need more columns to hold that data. You can go taller, and you'll need less. So if it can fit inside your border, you can bring it in one action this way. You've got it set up like this. So when I've got it where I want it, I data point again, and it draws it right in here. And like I said, it uses real clean MicroStation lines and text elements and text nodes. And they're all optionally inside a cell here. I like them that way, and that's a program setting. This data that's in here is now automatically linked back to the spreadsheet it came from, which means I can keep the data in the drawing up to date automatically in the future. And what happens there is whenever you open this drawing or jump into this model in the future, our program will check to see if that spreadsheet has changed. And if the spreadsheet has changed, it'll update the data right here in the DGN. And if there's no changes to make, it does not do an unnecessary update. So in that way, it keeps your data naturally and effortlessly up to date. We treat the spreadsheet as the master, and that's a deep part of the design of our program. That means that you need to make your changes during your projects. You need to make your changes in Excel if you want them to come into the design file. It's intentionally not bidirectional. But if you see something in here you want to change, while you're working in MicroStation, all you need to do is hit this little pencil button here, and it'll open up that linked spreadsheet for you. So lickety-split, it opens it up, and it even highlights the exact cell range that's paste it inside there. So if I had done like a smaller paste, I'll just copy this and I'll do an additional paste in here. So let's say I've got this guy in here, and I'm like, oh, I want to edit that. I just say pencil, and this time you'll note that it doesn't do anything when I hit that button. Right down here it's saying edit link source document identify element. Now that I have two pastes in this file, this big one here and this little guy, it needs me to pick one so it knows which one to open the spreadsheet of and to highlight. So I'm going to click, choose an element in here. It's in a cell, so it'll all get selected. And then you can just data point anywhere, and it opens it right up, even if it wasn't selected before. So I'll exit out of Excel and show you how that is. I'll do it again, pencil, select, data point, and I got to bring Excel over because it opens on my other monitor, and I'll show it to you. And see, it opened it up, and it highlighted these cells for me. I can even show you that if I highlight some different cells and come back here and hit the pencil button and pick it, it re-highlights those for me, leaving that spreadsheet open. It's really, really nice, and it's designed to, wherever possible, just save you time, save you frustration, and produce a final deliverable that is just in, ready to submit state, and not be something you have to fiddle with after the fact once you get it into the design file to get it right. You have control in your settings for this program over lots of different things like color, weight, style, level, and font, text size. And the settings for color, weight, style, and level are split up with a distinct set for text and another set for line elements. So the lines can be whatever color, weight, style, and level you want, and the same for the text. And they don't have to be the same as each other because you might have a CAD standard for a client that requires the text be on a different level than the lines or a different color or something like that. Now, once this data is in here, it's automatically linked. It doesn't require an extra step to do that linking. But if you ever are working in MicroStation and you want to just make it update right now, well, sure, you could reopen this drawing or jump to another model and jump back in, but you don't need to. There's a button here on the toolbar called Manage, and if you then click on your paste, if you have more than one, it brings up a box that says Manage Microsoft Office Importer Link. This has some settings for your paste, and it has some buttons, and the interesting button right now is Update. So you can say, hey, please update this guy from the spreadsheet it came from. And it's going to correctly tell me, hey, this paste linked to that spreadsheet is already up to date, so it doesn't need an update. But if if I had gone into that spreadsheet and changed something, let's say something in there, come over here, update, it updates for me, and boom, that 23 that I just added shows up in my MicroStation, inside of MicroStation. While I'm in this box, I'll show you a few other things. Some of them are important. So some of the things in this box are important. So firstly, if someone ever renames the spreadsheet or moves the spreadsheet someplace, you can just come in here. Again, I hit Manage to get in here. This button on the toolbar. You can come in here, and right here where it says Source, this is where it's pointing. You can hit Select, and you can browse to the new name and location of that spreadsheet, and then the Apply button will activate, and you can hit it, and it'll update, and it'll link it to that new place. You don't have to repaste it. That's handled nicely. If you want any particular paste to not be checked for automatic updates when you open that drawing in the future, then you can uncheck Update Automatically when Design File opens. And if you want to turn this off by default, you can turn it off in this program's main settings, and then new pastes that you make will be born with this turned off if that's your preference. The majority of the clients that I work with leave this on most of the time, but there are perfectly valid reasons to leave it off, and some folks do. Down here, this tells you which Excel cells are being pointed to in this, and which Excel worksheet or tab name is pointed to, and you can change this if you want. It changes where it's pointing to in the spreadsheet. If you work with ProjectWise or on projects that you work in ProjectWise, Microsoft Office Importer's pastes automatically integrate through ProjectWise Explorer with your ProjectWise data source. So if you are copying and pasting from an Excel spreadsheet that you checked out of ProjectWise, Office Importer will automatically notice that it's coming from ProjectWise, and what it'll do is instead of linking to a local path to that, or just a regular network share, it'll actually link this paste to your ProjectWise address or URL. And what that means is next time it needs to update the data in the drawing, it checks it in ProjectWise. So it's fully integrated, totally automatic. It just needs ProjectWise Explorer to be active, and you need to, when you do your paste and you're updating and opening your files, and your spreadsheet needs to have come from, been checked out from ProjectWise, and we notice that, and everything's automatic. So it works when it needs to. You don't need to turn anything off when you're not on a ProjectWise project. When you're not, when you don't meet those ProjectWise criteria I just mentioned, like the spreadsheet didn't come from ProjectWise and you're not logged into ProjectWise and all that, then it just links to it wherever it's stored, on your computer or on the network. So this data is now here, and since it's drawn with clean MicroStation text nodes, lines, when you submit this drawing to a client, this data is not going to disappear if you fail to give them the spreadsheet. There's no requirement at all for us, with Office Importer, that you give your client the spreadsheet that you got this data from. If you prefer, or the client prefers, to just get DGNs today, then that's totally okay. You can keep just delivering DGNs, and they don't have to have our software. They don't have to have the spreadsheet. What they'll see is what you see right now: a real drawing inside this DGN, and it'll plot great, nothing weird, because it's done with real clean, MicroStation elements. So if you wish to have absolutely no linking at the end of your project, like for example, if you have a client that says no external links whatsoever, even if we can't see them, then you could select your paste and drop complex on it, which would drop the cell that it's in, and that will also erase the link, and then you just have elements in here that even when you get the file back, you won't be able to update them from the spreadsheet. Totally up to you how you do all that, but that is an option, and since today's call is a training, I wanted you to know about it. So this data is in here. The formatting is really nice, and it's something that's already formatted this way in Excel, and we notice that, and we honor that formatting. However, I'm going to show you some of the settings you can override over here in the settings before you make your paste. So here's the settings box. I was in here briefly earlier checking for myself, and now I'll show you around a little bit. I'm in the text category. I'm in the formatting tab, and let's say I want all my text to be by level color. That's all you got to do. If I want all my text to be color 3, do that. If I want my text to be, as I did before, if I want it to be whatever color is used in Excel, the closest match I can find in my color table anyway, then I just turn this off, and it says, and it does this. It takes unselected, unchecked settings from the source document, this Excel spreadsheet in this case. Same for weight, by level, style, and then here's your list of levels. You'd have a list of your levels here, and pulls the levels out of the file you're in, and lets you pick from that. Now, for font, you can use the same fonts as the source document. So if your Excel spreadsheet uses a bunch of TrueType fonts, it'll use those in here in MicroStation. Or you can pick the font that you want to use, whether that's a MicroStation resource font, or a Windows TrueType font, or an AutoCAD shape font. And then under size, you can dial your sizes in beforehand. You can set up your size settings here, and use those settings to get your paste at just the right size, even if you work in different scales. The size settings are something that are outside of the scope of today's training, but we can train you on them on an individual basis, because your settings may not be, the sizes you need may not be the same as other people that are in on this call. So if you guys need any help setting up your text sizes, all you got to do is go Help, About, and that'll bring up this box, and in here you'll have our phone number, and you can call this number for support and just say you need support or help with Microsoft Office Importer. If you prefer to email, you can email at this address too. But you can get help on size, and we'll help you out on a one-on-one basis. We'll get your numbers, and we'll show you exactly how it works. Now for borders, you have the same settings as text formatting: color, weight, style, and level. So color, pick your color, weight, style, level, and if you have filled cells in Excel, the fill color in here, you can say import filled cells from Excel, and these will come in filled. And for pasting, usually it comes basically set like this. I turn on split paste into columns, and I tell it to repeat a certain number of Excel header rows, like these header rows got repeated for me. And it's important that if you use this feature, you tell it the correct number of rows from your spreadsheet, and you include those rows in what you copy. So I'll show you what I copy in Excel. So let's say I'm doing bringing all this in. All right, if I copy this and I come in here and I were to paste it, I would close this box and paste it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of header would be brought in. And you'll see here that this fifth row for me is not header. Well, I don't want this first row of data repeated at the top of every one of my pastes. So that's really important. And you guys, as each individual user, needs to just, if you use this feature, make sure you use the right number of rows, because Excel doesn't know the difference between the header and the body of your spreadsheet. It does know in plotting and stuff, in printing your spreadsheets, but not actually inside of here. So just make sure you get this number right. And what I would recommend is you set this number to what is the most common for you, and that you keep an eye on it and change it when you have a spreadsheet that's a little different, has a different number of rows of header. And the way you can change that on the fly is when you're doing a paste, the box has an option right here. And let's say that the right number is 4, which it is in this case. And you go, okay, good, boom. Now, it doesn't matter. I'm going to show you something. You see here I didn't split this into columns, so it doesn't matter. But if I did split this into columns, it would matter how many rows it's going to repeat. So I'll go 5 is wrong, set it to 4. And whatever I do in this box is a one-time change. Next time I do a paste, these are going to go back to whatever settings I have defined in the program's real settings box. So here we go. Repeat these guys. And now it won't repeat this SR303 9 plus 98 stationing. In these guys, you see it's got a different one, so it's correct. Back into the settings. Pasting. So again, these guys are off by default. If you want these to be on by default for your paste, then you come into your settings, turn it on, and set this to the number of rows of header you normally have. And when you copy, be sure to include those header rows. If you want, you can also lock your pasted elements, which would, some folks use this, not a lot of folks, which actually makes it so they can still update. It doesn't impact their updating. But if you paste with that, I just changed it in the settings, which would be for my next paste. But if I did paste with that, then when I click on this and try to move it around, you see I can move this around, I wouldn't be able to if this had been locked, but it would still update. Borders, pasting, linking. I wouldn't change anything in here almost ever, but I do want to show you something important about how the program works. We save source document paths, meaning the link that gets you from here to from the DGN to the spreadsheet. We save that by default as a relative path. The alternatives are absolute path, meaning always include the drive letter or the whole / server name if it's a UNC path, or no path if you want to use your workspace to find all your refs, which is, to find all your Office Importer pastes. I don't know of anyone that uses this, but there may be folks out there that do. And absolute, there's some folks that use absolute, but you know what? To be honest, more often I rarely see someone that's using it, and maybe once every 5 years I see someone doing absolute path, and it's almost always not the best option. It's really rare that it is. Here's how relative path works. Relative path is great. It saves just enough path info to get you from the DGN to the spreadsheet, or from the DGN to the Word doc that's pasted. And what that means is it just is a survivor. That link just lasts and lasts and lasts. Like if you rename your project directory, it doesn't break your links because the relative paths are all below that. As long as your spreadsheets and your DGNs are on the same drive to begin with, on a server or whatever, but on the same drive, and they're going to stay there, and they're pretty much going to stay where they are, then relative path is awesome. If you move them to another drive, that's still okay, because you move them together and their relative locations are the same. They're just on a new drive. If you merge servers or whatever, as long as you don't mess around with their paths, to get you from the DGN to the spreadsheet, you're in good. Those links are in good shape. It's very rare for someone to have to change these as a result of migration, unless they're totally moving files around and the relationship of the DGN to the spreadsheet or the Word doc is changing. By the way, if you ever do need to do a big job like that, where you're doing a migration, really changing around your directory structure and stuff, Axiom's Ref Manager program, which you guys have access to, it's software from us. It has the ability to make batch changes to the paths, even the relative paths, in Microsoft Office importer links, so you can change stuff there too. But it's very rare for this when one needs to, but there's a reasonable times when you do need to. So it can totally do that heavy lifting, lots of files, batch processing. Under updating, if you ever want to turn off the automatic update check program-wide for yourself, say don't update it in my automatic pace. An automatic pace is a pace that's set for automatic update checks. That's what that means. Or you can say, hey, always ask me before you update. If you want it to pop up a box when you open a DGN with our pastes in it, and have it say, hey, you've got 7 pastes in here. You want me to check them for updates? That's what this one does. So don't check. Ask before checking. Ask before updating and checking. And just update them if they need it. List of links. The settings area is not very important. And ProjectWise, this is also not important because on the ProjectWise integration is automatic. It automatically turns on and off as it needs to. So once you've got this data in here, we really want it to be something where you don't have to fiddle with it. It works well, and it doesn't take a bunch of extra work to get it the way you want it. You can pick your fonts. You can pick your text size, color, weight, style, layer, and then separate settings for text from your border lines. But we want the link to be very resilient. The link back to the spreadsheet. We want the updating to be we want the updating of the data in the DGN to be automatic, natural, and basically effortless. If you do see something in here you want to change, we want you to be able to get that spreadsheet open with just a press of this little button here, the edit button, and then pick it, and boom, it's opened up. So we want all that stuff to take as few clicks and as little thinking and as little worrying and just as little work and time as possible for you. If you ever need help with anything, like I mentioned earlier, just do a help about. Go into the settings box, do a help about, and get our phone number and give us a call. Ask for help. We'll be happy to help you. And now I'm going to show you a Word document paste with a couple of special Word features. Pasting from Word is pretty much the same as doing it from Excel, except that you don't have tables. It's just a bunch of paragraphs, So you can select what you want. I'm going to intentionally skip some stuff so that you can see that you don't have to include everything in a document. I'm going to grab a bunch of stuff, but I'm just going to kind of grab it out of the middle. So you come in, you copy it, select what you want, copy to your clipboard, jump into MicroStation, use the same paste button, and again it shows you a rectangle of what you've got. I selected a lot. Now all you got to do is click, and it'll come in. Now that's okay, and it's really amazing for Excel, but with Word, I want to see it. I want to see what these paragraphs look like. So I would turn on Show Contents While Pasting if we're doing a Word paste. And that is a lot better. Also, I don't like the font that I chose because I was just messing around with fonts. I'm going to go back to font and say use same font as source document, but I could just pick a TrueType font if I wanted. But whatever font you need to use is okay. And but I'm going to do it again with a font that I find pleasing, and I'm going to go click. And again, can't see it because I only turned it on in this box, which is for a one-time thing. Turn it on again. I'll zoom in, and then I'll come down here. That's gorgeous. Place it. This is totally okay because I'm on my DFS domain desktop. And now it's here. What about page width, though? With Word, not with Excel, but with Word, page width matters. So that's another setting. I'm going to go paste. And I'm going to say define width while placing text for page width. And show contents while pasting. And I'm going to paste this guy up here. And the first thing I do is width. So to get the width I want, click. And now get it where I want it. See, I can control that offset. I can control the height, maximum height. Bring it in. Again, I'll leave this up for you guys one time so you can see it. What this is doing is it's trying to map this to, because I'm saving this, the spreadsheet is not on the same volume that my DGN is. Normally it would be for most folks. Like in your situation in production, mine's not. So it's just seeing that mine is in on basically the network, which is just my desktop, because I'm on a domain with a roaming profile. That's totally okay. And it's saying, hey, I can't turn this into a drive letter because there isn't one. And it will correctly save it in UNC, but it doesn't want me to be surprised, so it's telling me. So it's working perfectly. And so I say, okay, and there we are. And you see this little dude up here? This little dot is the anchor element for this paste, this first page of the paste. It's a cell with a construction line in it of 0 length. If you don't want to see it, turn off constructions. So I have constructions off. I don't know what the deal is there, but you should be able to not see this guy because he's just a construction line. I don't know why he's showing. I'll check it out after. But this paste here now is linked. I controlled the width of it, and that's a word-specific feature in Office Importer. Next time I open this drawing, every time in the future, it'll check to see if the Word document has changed. If in Word I add some stuff in the middle of that area, the information linked in here will grow, because when we paste from Word, we create a bookmark for that paste that is the exact, defines the exact area of the Word document that we brought in. If you add inside of that bookmark grows. So keep that in mind. The data will automatically grow in your design if you increase it if you add to it in Word. And if you add outside of it, it won't grow in MicroStation, and that won't show up in MicroStation. You've got to be inside of that area. Also, you got to make sure you save your Word document after you make your paste. If I go here and close Word, it says you want to save your changes. Well, if I didn't know how this thing worked, I might say, what changes? Don't save them. That'd be a mistake. You want to save them because it's actually saving the necessary bookmark that we're linking to. I'll say save. So those are the basics of word pasting with Microsoft Office Importer. Also the basics, and then a little bit more of pasting with Excel. The last thing I want to show you with Excel, or I want to mention to you with Excel, is when you go into your Excel spreadsheet that you've already pasted from, and you add new rows inside of here, you can have those grow inside of MicroStation. You have basically 3 options. Well, you can have it grow or not grow, but there's 3 ways to bring it in. If you do a select all in your spreadsheet, truly the whole thing, not just a Control A, which is kind of the whole thing, only the filled in stuff, but a true select all, and you copy that, then the data in here will, and that's what I did down here, then the data in here will grow as your spreadsheet grows, new rows. If you do this up here, a finite range of cells, it will not grow. But you can go into the Manage box and change the range here to manually make it grow, basically, to expand it. That's cool. But it won't grow on you in number of rows unless you tell it to in that case. The third way to bring stuff in is to name your range of cells. So let's say this is my print area, and this is what I want to bring in to MicroStation, but I don't want to bring in, say it's, I don't know, almost everything, right? Let's say there's a column I want to omit or something, so I need to bring in just this, or I only want to go down to here for some reason. Totally okay. You got to come in here and you got to name it. So I'm gonna call this one. I'll call it maybe August. And now I've got a named range, which I can pick at any time, and it'll reselect it. Boom, I'll show you that. So now that named range is saved in the spreadsheet. Make sure you do save your spreadsheet. And if you copy from that, then it will be elastic inside of MicroStation, but it doesn't have to be the whole paste like if you do a select all. So that's it. The 3 ways to paste basically are any arbitrary Excel cells, the whole spreadsheet, that's elastic, or a named range, and that's elastic. That covers most of the basics of using Microsoft Office Importer. Again, if you guys have questions, any follow-up questions or any questions when you start to use it, please feel free to give us a call and ask for technical support. And our hours, we're East Coast, we're in Florida. We're East Coast US, and our hours are 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. Thank you very much.